I've been trying to understand the driving ideas underneath this globalist utopian tyranny that seems to be developing from the top down. And I think it's driven, at least in part, by this religious vision that I already described, that you have to construe culture itself, especially industrial culture, as the tyrannical father raping and pillaging everything in its way, which is an unbelievably dangerous way to think, too one-sided.
In the Joe Rogan Experience, Joe Rogan sat down with Jordon Peterson. Dr. Peterson laid out his plan to take on the globalists on the Joe Rogan Experience, telling the podcast king in an extended interview posted Saturday that he is considering starting a populist alternative to the World Economic Forum.
The idea that you have to impose limits to growth on people in order to have a sustainable planet. And that's allied with a view that probably stems all the way back to people like Paul Ehrlich in the 1960s, who really believe, truly, that maybe the planet should only have 500 million people on it, or 1 billion, in relative poverty, or 2 billion barely scraping by, because otherwise they're going to be wrecking everything, and, controlled by some top-down authority that makes bloody well sure that no one's consuming too much. And so when I look at ideas like that first assumption, the planet has too many people on it, it's like, I don't like to hear people say that, because when I hear that, I think, okay, buddy, who exactly are you thinking about getting rid of? Oh, well, it's not like that. It's like, yeah, it's like that.
It has to be like that.
It is absolutely like that.
Joe Rogan shares his thoughts on the Davos agenda coming out of the World Economic Forum and why the WEF's climate change policies could be a disaster for the poor if energy costs keep rising and people's energy bills continue to skyrocket.
It's pretty damn clear that the globalist utopians are willing to sacrifice the poor for the sake of the planet. And they're doing that by cranking energy prices up through the roof, and that means that people die. Lomberg has estimated that maybe you have to turn your thermostat down by 3 degrees, right? Save the planet. We don't have enough energy. We'll pay you not to use your electricity between 5 and 6, which is what they're doing in the UK. You turn your damn thermostat down 3 degrees, that sounds like nothing. But if you're old, that radically increases the probability that you'll get a respiratory disease and die.
Peterson told Rogan that he will be gathering a consortium this October or November in London as a kind of rival to the WEF. This group will discuss 6 questions pertaining to global philosophy and policy. While this first conference will be invite-only, it will be public, and Peterson noted that if successful, he would like to expand yearly.
If the underlying narrative is the one I just described, virginal planet, tyrannical patriarchy, and rapacious individual, and you believe, well, we're overpopulated like Paul Ehrlich has believed since literally the mid-1960s, then how is it not going to be that the policies that you craft stemming from that narrative are colored by the belief that there's far too many people? The consequence of your actions, raising energy prices, for example, actually produced an improvement in those things you wanted to improve. If your cure for the planet is, well, we got to put 350 million poor people in jeopardy just so that things are hypothetically better in 100 years, I think, yeah, I don't think so, buddy. And also, it's a little bit too convenient for me that your prescriptions to save the planet are accompanied by this insistence that the only way forward to that is to give you all the power. It's like there's a bit of a moral hazard in that, don't you think? It's like, I'm just saving the planet. Give me all the power. It's like, you want to save the planet? Or do you want the power? And let's put the second one first, because the probability that you're a saint or the Messiah is pretty damn low.